There is no doubt about the fact that it's going to be a pretty exciting 2017 for Hollywood movie lovers, especially for those who are a fan of entire superhero wave. There's going to be the Wolverine, Spider-Man, whatnot, but that doesn't mean there's not much the kitty for others who enjoy a variety of flicks. However, fortunately for us, the year is going to be a prospective must-watch movies. And honestly, some of these movies have had, yes, waiting for years now. So before the tone of the video turns into a fanboying, let's get the point already. Irrespective of the genres, we have ranked them according to their anticipations. Check out these 10 Hollywood films coming soon, which would sure keep you busy for next years. Annabella 2. Are you afraid of dolls? Well, here comes Annabella again to hunt all your nights. This is the only horror movie that is made to our top 10 list. In Annabella 2, American Supernational Horror Film centers a doll maker and his wife, whose daughter tragically dies 20 years early. They decided to open their home to a nun and several girls from a shelter orphanage. The doll maker process creation, Annabella sets their sight on the children and turns the shelter into a storm of horror. The series of events takes place. It is directed by David F. Sandberg. It is the sequel to 2014 film Annabella, the second film in the Annabella film series and the fourth installment in the Conjuring film series. The film is said to be star Miranda Otto and Stefan Sickman in the main roles. It is scheduled to be released on May 19, 2017. Wonder Woman. We almost can't believe this movie is actually in production, as the project seems to be taken years to finally get a green lit. Well, director Patty Jenkins has already started working on this movie. Gal Gadot had obviously been working her ass off to get into shape as a titular Amazonian. And with Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice introducing her character properly, we'll be ready to see her take center stage by the time the release window rolls around. Which is a very good thing, considering the standalone adventure with probably the catalyst for important DC film that comes a couple of months after this one. This film is scheduled to be released in June 23, 2017. If you haven't seen this movie, then big shame on you, considered to be one of the best science fiction movies in 2014. With humanity and the apes are properly divided, the military assumed to be heading to the ruins of San Francisco. The sequel of The Dawn of the Planet of the Apes looks like it will be one of the biggest diplomacy or a war game. Matt Reeves' 2014 sequel blew the doors of a saga that was once known for its vastly diminished returns between sequels, yet in this case the complete opposite is true. The series is as strong as ever, and the third film in series rise to world domination promises to as nuanced and brutal as the last. Transformers The Last Night. Bumblebee, Ironheart, Optimus Prime. Doesn't these names rings any bells to you? Well, here comes the good news for Transformers fans. Transformers is back again with Transformers The Last Night, an upcoming 2017 science fiction action-based film on a Transformers storyline. It is the fifth installment of live-action Transformers film series and the sequel to 2014 Age of Extinction.
We're going to prove who we are and why we're here.
The film is directed by Michael Bay, who is associated with directing all Transformers movies yet. Mark Wahlberg will be reprising his role from the Age of Extinction, alongside with the Josh Duhamel and Tyrese Gibson, who acted in the first three films. Filming was done at Arizona, Illinois, Phoenix, Detroit and some parts of London. It will be the final Transformers film directed by Michael Bay. The film is yet to be released on June 23, 2017.
Humans have asked us to play by their rules. Well, the rules have just changed.
You need a teacher! I could show you the ways of the Force!
Star Wars Episode 8. If there was any Star Wars announcement that excited the fans base more than J.J. Abrams been announced as a director, it most certainly has the announcement that Rian Johnson would be taking over the middle installment of the continuing trilogy. With his work on such masterpieces as Brick and Looper, Johnson's sensibilities out for the phase in Star Wars trilogy that usually is revised for humor and grounding uncertainty. Considering that the First Order will be more likely be just getting started with Villainous Way, and that Darth Vader helmet still require an explanation, Star Wars Episode 8 is going to be a hell to follow up the Force Awakens. Fast and Furious 8. After watching Fast and Furious 7, fans thought that it would be the last film from the Furious franchise. Well, here's a good news. Director F. Gary Gary plans to continue the story. Fast 8 marks the first film of the franchise other than the Fast and Furious 8 Tokyo Drift. Not to the star Paul Walker, who died in the single vehicle crash on November 30, 2013. At the 2015 CinemaCon in Las Vegas, Diesel revealed the film release date, that is on April 14, 2017. Well, there would be no Brain O'Connor aka Paul Walker, but still it would be excited to watch this upcoming movie. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Admit it, you missed the Rocket Raccoon already. There's so many times you can watch your Guardians of the Galaxy Blu-ray before you go mad over having waited so long for the sequel. Still, the sequel is indeed happening. Director James Gunn plans to take fans on yet another intergalactic trip with our favorite space guardians in the confirmed sequel to 2014 blockbuster hit. As the first risky film venture turned out to be such a critical success, Marvel plans to pull on punches into introducing some of the most obscure characteristics within the comic book franchise the second time. There has been early talk of looking into Quill's family history, and maybe even some crossovers with the Avengers. Spider-Man Homecoming. Who is it? Yes, you guessed it right. It's Peter Parker aka Spider-Man, who was a nerdy guy only before he got bit by a spider that changed his life. While everyone is trying to figure out who will be the next Peter Parker, all the other fans in the world are giddy over the fact that Spider-Man is heading home from the Marvel Studios for the first time. Spider-Man Homecoming is the only name we have to go on, but we don't know that this movie will bring us back to the Peter Parker's high school days, and will continue whatever threats we see from it during its initial appearance in Captain America Civil War. Whoever gets to play for a web slinger is in for a hell of a ride. But if that first appearance goes well enough, we might breathe a little easier knowing that this new adventure solo will be amazing as we hope.
You got heart, kid. Where you from?
Queens?
Brooklyn.
The Wolverine 3. Well, fans are always excited to take their favorite mutant to the big screen. For his third solo screen is currently untitled Wolverine film, also arises as a bittersweet entry.
Sayonara.
Hugh Jackman said that he got the last Wolverine picture in him. The last film is hitting cinemas in 2017. We have no clue what the film is going to be about or who else is going to be a star in it. All we know, James Mangold will be reprising his directing duties after his successful tenure on The Wolverine. It's not a lot to go on, but with the most successful components of the last film's success in the play, it's hard to be excited that they will be sending Wolverine off with a bang.
The monster I am. The Wolverine.
Justice League. What you get when you bring Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman and Carbog together. Yes, you guessed it right, you get the Justice League. It will be the fifth installment in DC Extended Universe. The film will be directed by Zack Snyder, who worked with DC with its prior film that is Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman.
So you're fast.
Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot will be reprising with role they played in Batman vs Superman. Ezra Miller, Jason Momoa and Ray Fisher will be playing roles of Flash, Aquaman and Carbog respectively. According to the report, the villain is said to be Steppenwolf of Paradisens, but the identifier of the actor is still unknown. Justice League is yet to be released on November 17, 2017. We all hope this movie doesn't disappoint us like Batman vs Superman.